Fáilte seach chuirde chuig aglah buile mí sa seo liomsa Emma de Puer agus inniuh be mé leirt le Kevin new Cuivine. So welcome everybody to this month's members interview with myself, Emma de Puer, and today I'll be talking with Explore member Kevin or Cuivine. Cuivine, conna sa tátu?
Tá mé go má Emma.
Come on. Good. So I'm really happy to have you, Kevin. I was just telling you before we clicked record that you are our first Explore member to be interviewed on this little series that we do here. So I'm really excited to get to know you a little bit more. So just a little bit about this series. So maybe you've watched a video like this before, or maybe you're tuning in for the first time or listening as a podcast. But basically what we do monthly is we try and interview a Grow member as it was beforehand, but now we're incorporating our Explore members in. And the reason for that is because we've now made our community, our online community, available to not only Grow members, but also Explore members. So this is a private learning community that we have on Bite Size for many years now. And it was exclusive only to Grow members. But in the last, I suppose, month or so, just over a month perhaps, we have opened it up to all existing Explore members and new Explore members. And Cuivine here was actually one of our guinea pigs. He was one of our tester Explore members who we brought in even before we launched it to everybody to see how he got on and how the others got on. And well, it went well, and we've now opened it up to everyone. So Cuivine, I'm really excited that you're here and you're our pioneer Explore member, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you a little bit more. So in that being said, I would like you to introduce yourself, maybe as Gaeilge first, so a little bit in Irish, and then switch to English, and we'll continue from there.
Okay, then Jane fi mé iirecht as Gaeilge. Is mi Kevin, ach Cuivine is anim dom choma. Is as Sasana me. Ach tá mé anish imafoni I san erveish. Tá mé posta. Is aus an Nierman mo van Gele. Tá trio Klina agrin. Agus Roma tá trio clan machlina agrina. Bas Jorge, Entschuldigung, Bas Jorge in Ern Mohish Mahori. Is Malium Ave Ekshul Schna Schleefte. Is Malium Liaua. And star agus rugby go hirhe no go horrihe rugby gooi me istach I Bite Size Mata show this year. Sinead Emma
Anavar fad, gur míle maith. Now, for those who don't understand Gaeilge, you're going to have to say that all over again, but in English.
Okay, a little bit more easier in English, I have to say. My name's Kevin in English, but there's an Irish version, or the version is Irish and the English version is Kevin Cuivine in Irish. I don't know if the pronunciation is correct. I'm from England, but my parents were from Cork City in Ireland, in the south of Ireland. I'm living in Switzerland. I'm married and my wife is from Germany. We have 3 children and 3 grandchildren. I like to go walking in the mountains. And if I'm not walking in the mountains, I love to read. I said in my introduction in Irish, I said books because to read is a little bit more complicated in Irish. I like history very much, and I like rugby I used to play rugby for many years, so that was my sporting experience. And I've been with Bite Size since, I think it's March, certainly the spring this year, maybe a little bit earlier, I'm not sure, because I was watching Bite Size for a long time, but we'll come to that. That's it, that's all I said.
Lovely.
Okay.
Lovely. And I've already picked out some links between mine and your life. So as some of our members might know, or our viewers, I live in Germany. So we're actually we're in the same time zone. Yeah. Number one, if you're in Switzerland. So, you know, well, there's no sun here today, but, you know, it's still bright out for the two of us. And as well, the Cork City thing as well. I studied in Cork, and I'm very fond of Corkig. So yeah, go Kevin. So I suppose my next question, which I ask everyone, is how did you come to learning Irish then? Where is I know you have obviously your link with Cork, but where did Gaeilge come into play then in your life, and when?
This is a good question, and there isn't a short answer. I've always been interested in Irish, in the Irish language, since I was as far back as I can remember, to be honest. But certainly since I was a young teenager. Obviously, with my background, and it was very common for people of my generation, we used to go back to Ireland very regularly. To visit all our family there in Cork. And some of my cousins certainly were learning Irish when I used to go back and visit. And I was always interested. My cousins actually used to send me school books, textbooks, back to England for me to look at. But this was back in the days way before internet. And of course, I used to open the school books, and I'm stumped because you look at the language and you just can't read it. And unless you have the key to the pronunciation, you're lost. And but that obviously stopped me in my tracks. But I kept the interest, and over the years, I was always interested when I heard Irish, or if I saw Irish written. Or I heard in passing Irish being spoken, but for one reason or another, certainly after my university days, the interest was taken over. Obviously, I guess it's the same thing that everybody says: work, travel, family, less and less time. Until towards the end of my working career, I started to think to myself, I really have to get back into learning the language. So my answer is, Emma, I was always interested, but for one reason or another, I never was able to sit down and really study it. It sounds a feeble excuse now, but I finally got back to it in the end. So that's the main thing. It was always an itch, if you like. It was always in the back of my mind.
Yeah, no, and it's not, well, it's a very common excuse, and I wouldn't even call it an excuse. It's a reality, and it's life in general, and it is difficult. I even find it, I'm trying to dabble myself in other languages, and I find it terribly difficult to really sit down and apply myself, especially when you're starting from scratch. It can be really daunting. You know, I don't mind sitting down and doing a little bit of German here and there because I have a base. But it is difficult to start from scratch. And I love the fact that you got books sent to you. Do you still have any laying around, or are they?
I have to look. I'm sure they're in the loft somewhere.
You'll have to pull them out, Kevin. You'll have to pull them out and find them. And if you do, you'll have to tell me. I'm a sucker for an old school book, and even school books now. When I travel home, I'll always try and pick up some sort of school book. I find I just love them. I don't know why. I find them really useful, and you can apply them all the time. You can use them.
Yeah, I'm sure. Excuse me. Well, I seem to remember that the cover was pink. And they weren't hardback, they were softback books. But I would have been about 13 or 14, so I don't know whether if you can put the school syllabus all those years ago. But I think the other thing that I didn't mention was that my father, although he came from Cork City, I'm not sure to what degree, but he certainly had Irish. He could speak Irish, and he did have the fáinne. But I don't know in those days whether there was a bronze or silver or gold. I don't know whether they differentiated then. But he did have it. And when growing up in England, if I was to ask him words, how do you say this? How do you say that? Generally, he could always answer. But I don't know. So there was always, as well as my interest, there was always this background ticking of knowledge. But he didn't speak Irish with us.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, if he was, from Cork City, there's lots of Irish, and there always has been Irish in Cork City. So I'm not surprised that he did. Indeed. And I suppose then maybe it's a follow-on question a little bit here, or it's it's linked to this. So what was the kick then that pushed you really towards sitting down and learning? And I know you maybe have more time now, but was there anything, or was it just one day you thought, right, let's just do it?
Again, the kick was, believe it or not, Italian. Because we used to go on holiday to Italy with the children. We used to go every autumn to the seaside with the children. A bit like as we used to do when we went back to Ireland, we always went to the same place in Cork, Crosshaven, to the seaside. And so we used to go to the same place in not quite the same as Crosshaven, but to the seaside in Italy. I said to my wife, after a few visits, look, we can't keep asking people to speak English. We have to learn Italian. And eventually I was mentioning this to a friend at work, and I said, I need to, I'm trying to learn Italian. And he said, well, there's an app you can look at online. You know what I'm going to say next. But I said, oh, right. So he said, try out this app. So, of course, it was Duolingo. And I went home. And at one point, I tried this app. And while I was trying this app for Italian, I thought to myself, well, does it have an Irish version? And it did. I have to admit, to my great surprise, it had an Irish version. And so for a while, this was sort of me scratching my itch. And I started with Duolingo to look at the beginner's Irish in Duolingo. But it had a sort of knock-on effect, which was I started again thinking back to my school books that I couldn't read. Well, before I go any further, I have to learn how to read. I have to be able to decipher how this language is pronounced from the written page. And so I went alongside Duolingo, I started to research. That means I started to Google how do you pronounce Irish? Not spoken Irish, but written Irish. So this was the kick that brought me back into it. But if I'm honest, it was Duolingo that started me off as an introduction to say, hey, I think it opened my eyes to say, look, there's a whole new world out there. It's not the pink school books anymore. You can go on the internet and you can find a lot of information. So that was the start.
Duolingo really is a gateway drug for languages, isn't it? It really just gives you the push at the start. It's really, really good to get you going, and you get it in little bits. And I'm the same, but again, I suppose Duolingo for me, it doesn't give me enough, and it doesn't give me enough at the same all at one time. I can't handle it having it kind of dripped in drips to me. I want it all, which some people prefer to have bit by bit. I know we are bite-sized Irish, but you can take it in bite-sized chunks if you want, but all of it is there for you right in front of you, and you can take as much as you want. Very interesting. I like it. The Italian thing. I'm on an Italian buzz at the moment as well myself, but I'm not getting very far. So I'll probably have to revert to a bit of Duolingo until I can really commit, as they say. So
Yeah.
interesting, Kevin. I really I resonate with it, and I think, you know, especially you've been interested in the language for so long. I'm glad that you've actually done it. You know, you'd regret not doing it. And
Yeah.
you know, you, especially from such a young age, you had that interest, but you never had the chance. If you were living in England, you couldn't have possibly learned Irish there. So your younger self is definitely giving you a pat on the back and saying thank you. So I suppose the next question then is to do with us here at Bite Size.
Okay.
And perhaps maybe we can link two questions. I'll start off actually with a different one. What have you most enjoyed about learning Irish in general, regardless of Bite Size, I suppose? Because maybe you don't like learning. Well, I'm joking, but you know, what has been your highlight?
The highlight, well, firstly, scratching the itch, definitely. This feeling that, you know, well, finally, you know, after all these years, I've put away all the excuses, and I'm now doing something to recover the situation, if you like. So scratching the itch. And then there's always the satisfaction, I guess you get this with any language, where you suddenly realize, oh, actually, I understand that. I think I wrote recently that we were on holiday in Ireland this summer, and just little things where you see signs and you think, well, I know what that means. As I also wrote, we were in the Gaeltacht, well, in Connemara, and in your part of the world, in Dungarvan. I've forgotten the name of the Gaeltacht. I know it's Anrina, but it's forgotten. Sorry. But even then, when you see the signs in that particular Gaeltacht, the signs are all in Irish. They're not in English and Irish. They're in Irish only. And it's just nice to see. Just it sounds a very trivial example, but it gives you a little tiny, as you say, pat on the back to say, well, I understand that now. Maybe 2 years ago, I wouldn't have understood it. And a little bit as well, at Christmas, I was given a small book of short stories in Irish. And it's nice every now and then to pick it up and you think, well, 3 weeks ago, I couldn't understand this. And I still can't understand it, but I can understand 2 or 3 sentences, or maybe a few paragraphs, or at least I can get the gist even. So that's always a nice, I mean, and that's true for any language. I remember when I was learning German, you would be ecstatic, you know, if you walked away and said, I actually understood what these people were saying. So it's the same. It's a double-edged sword, because it also brings frustration when you don't understand and you get surprised and somebody says something to you and you can't react. The language isn't active; it's passive knowledge. And as you walk away, you're angry with yourself because you think to yourself, "I knew the words, but it was just blocked." It actually happened to me on our last BO session with Ben, and I was really angry because I thought I couldn't answer a simple question. But so there are highlights, but yeah, it's a double-edged sword. There's irritation as well. I think the primary satisfaction or the primary highlight is scratching this itch and finally getting into the language.
Good. And I agree with the anger. And you know, often it happens to you that if you'd read the sentence that someone has said to you, you would have understood it if you'd read the words or seen the words. But when someone says something out loud to you, and you're again caught off guard, you definitely don't, you know, and you're not ready for it, you wouldn't be able to answer it. So I agree with that. And it still happens to me with German also.
Yeah.
So I suppose then linking, you mentioned BO, and that's what I wanted to ask you about. So because you've been attending Bite Size BO Starter, which is our monthly scripted call for Explore members. Now we have a weekly scripted call for Grow members, And in the recent months, we've introduced this as a monthly option for explorers. So I'd like to know a little bit about that. How have you been finding it? I saw that you commented recently on a post saying that you were there and you enjoyed it, but I'd like to hear it from in person, maybe.
Yeah, sure. I mean, my reaction to the script is or to the bio sessions are, when you read the script the first time for each conversation, the initial reaction is, okay, you read through it, maybe you practice it out loud and you think, oh, okay, this is okay, I've got this under control, it's no big deal. But I find that each session has so much more information in it than you initially realize. And especially when Ben starts to, so far I've had it with Ben, but when he starts to explain some of the nuances or some of the tips, or explains that sometimes this would be pronounced in Ulster this way, or in Connacht a different way, or in Munster where my ears always prick up. There's so much more information to them than you've at first realize. The other thing, of course, it's really nice to be able to actually speak the language, even if it's for 20 minutes or half an hour, with other people as well. That is really important, that you're not alone. You're not sitting at a desk studying each evening and working your way through Collins. You're actually speaking with other people and communicating, which of course is the whole point. So I always walk away from the sessions feeling really enthused, as well as slightly irritated with myself. But I feel that, really, it's another little itch scratched, if you like. Keep going. That there is some light at the end of the tunnel. So in a nutshell, I really, really enjoy them.
Good, and I'm glad, because I do. We for anyone that doesn't understand, there are a certain list of scripts that we have, and one is picked each month. In this case, or weekly, one is picked, and you might think, oh, I've done that script before, I don't need to do it again. But you can definitely benefit from repetition over a certain period of time, because of course Ben will pick up on different things and he won't mention the same grammar rules every single time, or he might add something in one time and then something different another time. So there's definitely, in my opinion, it really helps to repeat something as well. It really drills that into your head. So you've been really good to get involved, Kevin, and I suppose that's why I chose you as my interviewee, because you really got involved in Poble as well, which is the community that's now available to you. And I suppose just a couple of words on that. How have you been finding it? I find that you're very active there, replying to what I post, but also to other members.
Again, I'm very enthusiastic. I was told by my mother, when you write a letter, you should write it as if you're speaking to the person. So on one of my walks, I was thinking to myself, with this, when I was invited to join Poble, I thought, well, this is how I should write it. I should write my answers, not just a strict. I think the last one was, who was your best friend? Or and it's simple to write, my best friend is. But I always try to think of well, actually, what I thought. Sorry, to answer your question, it's really, really good. It's the best next thing to speaking it is to write it, because you're forced into, if you're writing and you want to write something halfway interesting, then you're forced to start using tenses. So I was doing this yesterday, I will be doing this tomorrow. And of course, once you start writing that, then Collins is getting very well worn at the moment, where I'm plowing through, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I say this? How do I say that? So it's forcing the boundaries, if you like, which I hadn't had before I started to write. So it's really good. And also, again, it's a community. You're writing to people. People are reading what you say. some people, well, at least you're reading it anyway. So I'm sure other people, I do read the other posts. I do read through them, see what people have written first of all, and then, you know, well, actually, I don't know what that means. So, and look it up. So it was a big advance, I have to say. When I was invited to join Poble, it was a big plus.
Well, it sounds to me like you've really captured the essence of what I want from Pobble and what I want people to do on Pobble. You're reading other people's posts, you're putting effort into your own writing, you're asking questions, you're getting involved in the live calls. I couldn't ask for a better member to have on there. So and it's really, well, you know, you can see if you're not commenting and no one else is commenting, then there is no community. So, you know, you need your members to be enthusiastic. And of course, not everyone can get on there every day. I'm not saying that. And everyone's at different levels, that I don't expect everyone to write a paragraph and 5 paragraphs. You know, there is no minimum or maximum that you can do. But, you know, as long as you feel the effort from your fellow members, I think it also eggs you on, or, you know, not you, or eggs one on to, Mann in German. It eggs one on to, you know, keep going and maybe try and write a little bit more, or read someone else's posts that you might know that has a little bit of better Irish than you, and you might take some of their vocabulary. So it seems to me like you're doing everything perfectly, Caoimhín. I can't give you any tips on how to use Poble better. You seem to have really gelled well in the last couple of months.
Well, as I said, it was a big plus, or it is a big plus. I did have a go at the daily questions. I was a little bit wary there because people are a lot more advanced in the daily questions. So there was one question about the eclipse, I think. Was it eclipse or I can't remember.
Yeah.
And I looked at that like, I don't know, this is beyond me. So I did post in one of them, but I thought I'd better leave the more advanced people to their conversation.
Yeah, well, it's up to you. And I suppose what I do is I don't set those daily challenges that I don't have a certain level in my head. It really depends on the week and what I do find to put up, or what I think of to put up. So it very much varies. So I'd say to keep your eye on it always, just in case you do spot something that you feel confident in doing. But I'm aware that even those who do partake in the daily challenges, the levels vary as well, and you know, you'll see some people commenting on some and others not on others, so that's completely normal. I just try and keep the mix well for all, to cater for everyone that's on Poble. But so far, I'm glad you're enjoying it, Caoimhín, and I'm again really thankful that you were one of our testers, because you were one of the ones that got involved and showed us what Poble can be with more members. And that was what Owen, the founder of Bite Size, of course, that's what he wanted at the start. He suggested this months ago, and that he felt that it was his duty to provide a community for people online and a space for learners, and grow it, make it bigger, to, I suppose, give opportunities to everyone, but also give opportunities to the members that were already in there to meet new people and have more interactions, and, you know, find your uncommon commonalities, as we say as well. And there's more and more people coming from the German speaking world on there, so I'm always happy to see that, because there's many links between Irish and German also, as you might have seen already. So for anyone that is interested in signing up or getting more information, you can find out more on bitesize.irish/memberships. We're talking in this case about the Explore membership, but we also have a Foundations membership if you're just thinking about dipping your toe in, and also a Grow membership if you would like to benefit from more live calls. So everyone can now in Explore and Poble, or Explore and Grow, get onto Poble, our community. But the live calls are the big thing for Grow. So if you want to multiply your chances of, you know, speaking it, Grow might be for you. But as Kevin said, there's lots to do as an Explore member on Poble so far, as well as all that we have on Ashter, our self-learning platform. So Caoimhín, I'm going to call it there, as we are just at almost at the 30-minute mark. We had a lovely chat. Míle buíochas, gurb míle maith agat. Thank you so much for being with me. And if anyone has any questions, comments, you know, you can leave them below this video, or on the blog post that will be attached to this video also. So, gur míle maith agat agus slán go fóill.
Slán go fóill.
Check out Bite Size Irish courses and resources at bitesize.irish.